What if your pain is the greatest gift you've been running from? You're not broken. You're being forged. Every scar you carry, every silent tear, every night you spent alone, none of it was meaningless. The world taught you to run from pain, to numb it, to bury it deep, and pretend it never happened. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that pain was never the enemy. Weakness was. And pain is how weakness dies. When life hits you, it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to introduce you to the version of yourself that only emerges under pressure. Just like a sword, your spirit is shaped in fire, and your discipline is the blade. Marcus Aurelius didn't seek comfort, he ruled an empire from a battlefield. Epictetus didn't escape pain, he was born a slave and turned suffering into unshakable clarity. Seneca didn't complain about misfortune, he transformed it into philosophy. These weren't men running from life's flames, they were walking through them with purpose. You weren't meant to live a soft life, you weren't made for endless comfort, fake happiness and shallow escapes. You were made to endure, to rise, to channel your pain into something greater. Pain is the signal, discipline is the answer. And every time you resist the urge to escape and choose instead to confront the fire, you stop being a victim and start becoming unbreakable. This world will keep lying to you. It will keep selling distractions, comforts, and shortcuts. But deep down you know the truth. Nothing meaningful comes without sacrifice. And pain, real pain, is the price of growth. You can run from it or you can rise with it. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop running? Because this is the Stoic path. And this is how you transform your deepest wounds into the most powerful force of your life. Now let's begin. The moment pain hits, you're standing at a crossroads. Most people run into distractions, into denial, into anything that feels like escape. But if you stop, if you breathe, if you stay in that space for just one moment longer than you're used to, something changes. Pain, when faced with courage, becomes a mirror. And what you see in that mirror isn't your weakness, it's your power, waiting to be claimed. Becomes a mirror philomenemoi. Pain doesn't lie. It exposes. It reveals what's fragile in you, what's unfinished, what's still wounded. But that's not a curse, it's a map. A map to the exact parts of your soul that need fortification. The Stoics didn't view pain as misfortune. They saw it as the raw material of greatness. Marcus Aurelius called it the fuel for the fire. Epictetus said hardship was training. Because real power doesn't come from ease. It comes from endurance. And you, what do you do when pain knocks on your door? You weren't meant to avoid it. You were meant to transform it, to take every heartbreak, every failure, every moment of collapse, and forge something indestructible. Each moment of suffering is an invitation to become more focused, more resilient, more awake. The same pain that once shattered you can become the pressure that shapes you. But only if you stop resisting it. Only if you choose to face it, with clarity, not fear. Because when you do, pain loses its grip. It stops being something that controls you, and becomes the very thing that frees you. So now the real question is, will you keep running from the fire, or finally step into it and rise as who you are meant to be? Discipline doesn't appear when life is calm. It's born in the heat, when everything inside you wants to give up, and you don't. It's born when your emotions scream for comfort, and you choose silence instead. When your body says, enough, and your mind whispers, one more step. That's when true discipline begins, not with ease, but with fire. Most people think discipline is about control, but the Stoics knew better. It's not about force, it's about alignment. Choosing your higher self, over and over, especially when it hurts. Anyone can follow a path when they're inspired. But what do you do when inspiration fades? When you feel nothing but pressure, exhaustion, and pain? That's the real battlefield. And that's where discipline is tested. Over The fire strips away illusion. It exposes your excuses. It burns off what's weak and fake, and leaves only what's real. And that's where the Stoic warrior is born, not in comfort, but in confrontation, with self-doubt, fear, and fatigue. In those moments, pain isn't your enemy. It's your instructor. It's the weight that builds your strength. So the next time you suffer, don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what is this shaping in me? Because pain is never just pain. It's the chisel, and you are the marble. Each trial is carving something unshakable. The Stoics didn't just survive hardship, they turned it into command. And so can you, if you keep walking through the fire one step at a time. Not all wounds bleed. Some whisper. Emotional pain is quiet, but relentless. It doesn't scream like physical pain. It lingers. It waits. And it surfaces when you're alone, still, or vulnerable. But that pain, it's not a glitch. It's not a weakness. It's a signal, a call back to yourself. When you're betrayed, rejected, left unseen, the pain that follows isn't just about the moment. It's about the parts of you that were still depending on what lies outside. The Stoics taught that most suffering comes not from events, but from our interpretation of them, our attachments, our illusions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself again and again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. So what if your heartbreak is just a cracked foundation? What if your pain is showing you the parts of your inner house that need to be rebuilt? Life occasion, you might be waiting for closure, for apologies, for someone to understand your silence, but the Stoic path doesn't wait. It rebuilds, it turns inward, and it asks the hard questions. What emotion still controls me? Life occasion, what belief still keeps me weak? What am I still chasing outside myself? Misa. Emotional pain demands brutal honesty. It forces you to stop outsourcing your peace. It strips away your need to be validated, praised, or even seen. And in that emptiness, you find something sacred. You become your own guide, your own compass, your own protector. That's how inner order begins. And once it starts, emotional pain loses its power. Because now, the storm is around you, not within you. Pain begins in the body, but suffering, that lives in the mind. You can't always control the ache in your chest, the shaking in your hands, or the weight pressing on your shoulders, but you can decide what those sensations become. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Your body might endure the blow, but your mind chooses what that blow means. Epictetus was crippled, and yet he stood taller than most men ever will, not because of his bones, but because of his unshakable mindset. His circumstances didn't dictate his dignity. His pain didn't define his identity. And that's what makes the Stoic path so powerful. It puts the control back in your hands. Even when life feels completely out of control, your body might tremble, but your will does not have to. Your breath might quicken, but your values can remain still. Because suffering is not about what happens to you, it's about the story you attach to it. Most people collapse mentally long before they reach any real limit, but you can choose a different way. So ask yourself, when life breaks your rhythm, can you stay centered? That's the mark of mental strength. Not being numb, but being anchored, calm, grounded, decisive. Knowing that even in chaos, your mind remains your own. Choose central train cultrings. Discipline is more than a habit. It's mental architecture, built brick by brick in moments of discomfort. Each time you choose focus over reaction, stillness over panic, purpose over impulse, you're adding to a foundation that cannot be shaken. And that's what the Stoics built. Not walls, but fortresses of thought. And that's what you're building too. One decision at a time. There's a kind of pain that hardens you. And there's a kind of pain that wakes you up. One closes your heart, the other opens your eyes. The difference: one is avoided, the other is faced. Most people let pain shut them down. They armor up. They get colder, more distant, more afraid to feel. But that's not strength. That's survival mode. Stoicism offers something deeper. Pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to strip away what's false. The real enemy isn't pain. It's meaninglessness. When you give your suffering a purpose, you reclaim your power. You stop telling a story of defeat. You start writing a story of becoming moral mara. Maybe you were abandoned. Maybe you failed. Maybe everything fell apart at once. Good. Now nothing is holding you back. Now you can begin, not again, but for real. Without illusions, without noise, with nothing left but what matters. Your character, your clarity, your inner strength. Ask yourself, what if this pain isn't a punishment, but a portal? That's the hidden gift. Pain demands a decision. It strips you down and then dares you to build again. But this time, not for others, not for approval, not for ego, but for truth. So turn the wound into wisdom. Let the silence become your strength. Let the loss point you toward your mission. The Stoics didn't escape their suffering. They trained with it. They stood in the fire, eyes open, heart steady, and walked out stronger than before. Now it's your turn to rise through it, not around it. You've suffered, you've cried, you've carried the weight in silence. But now comes the turning point. You can drag your pain like a chain, or carry it like a sword. You can keep waiting for it to end, or choose to turn it into discipline right now, because discipline is not about perfection. It's pain with direction. It's chaos, organized. It's every scar, every failure, every broken moment, sharpened into focus. Every time you resist what's easy, every time you keep your word when no one is watching, every time you act with integrity when it hurts. That's Stoic power. That's the flame inside you. And there is no ideal time to begin, no miracle coming, no savior at the door. Everything you need is already within you, in your scars, your silence, your story. That's where the light lives, if you stop running from it. So don't numb the pain. Don't bury it. Study it, use it, let it refine you. Let it burn away the false layers until only truth remains. Forged, steady, unshakable. You are the fire, you are the discipline. And this is just the beginning. Be sold on. If this message lit a fire in you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and send it to someone who needs this strength today. Let's spread this philosophy. Let's build a generation that chooses strength over comfort, discipline over escape, meaning over numbness. Now go. Face your pain. Turn it into your power, and become unbreakable.